Okay, so I recently just got some of like the worst business advice I think that I've ever gotten, and it made me kind of chuckle, and it has to do with pricing. I was in South Florida and we were looking for a place to grab like a juice and like a wrap or something healthy, and we ended up in this little shop, and there's this guy that kind of had like this hole in the wall place, and you could just look at him. I knew he was not doing so hot. He just looked miserable. He didn't have much life in him, and I don't know, if I were to guess, I wouldn't think his business was doing very well. But long story short is we go and we get the juice, and it's really cheaply priced actually. It's like $6 for a freshly squeezed juice, and we can put as much ingredients as we want into it, and they squeeze it right there for us. And most of the juices around here in South Florida are like $10 or maybe a little bit more than $10. And yeah, that was his business advice. He said, yeah, that's the reason that we've been in business so long, is that like our prices are so cheap. And I thought, wow, that kind of sucks, because here's the deal. And I learned this from this brilliant guy who's like the grandfather of direct response marketing. His name's Dan Kennedy. And he talks about like, there's no point in being like the second cheapest, right? If you can't be the absolutely ground dirt cheapest person in the market, then there's no competitive advantage to being the second cheapest. Take Walmart for example. Walmart is by far like the cheapest, right? They're way at the ground floor, and then like what is there above that? Maybe like Kmart, and I think they're like bankrupt, or maybe they went out of business, or I'm not sure. But the idea is that like it makes no sense to just compete with the lowest price, because all you're going to be doing is you're going to be competing and going lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, and your product or your service, it becomes a commodity. And it was funny, I was actually recently talking with a guy that's going to be preparing my taxes and doing accounting for me, and that was one of my things. I was like, wow man, like you're like twice as expensive as the guy that I have doing it right now. And he said, yeah, like we're not the cheapest. I'm going to tell you we're not the cheapest, but we're going to do the best job. And so I think this was some of the worst business advice that I ever got from this guy, was to like be the lowest priced person. I think if anything, you should be the highest priced person, or you should be priced very much at that end of the spectrum rather than at the low end of the spectrum, and just find a way like to serve the customers better, like to make your offer more attractive, or what you're selling more attractive, or do a better job in fulfilling on what you sell, or just sell it better, right? So I think it's like some of the worst business advice that I ever got.